All right. Check in. Is this better? Does this sound good? Just checking shit. Alrighty. I think I'm good to go. Motherfucker. Alright, I go, motherfucker. Okay, that's enough. Alrighty. I've been thinking a lot about pets. I've been thinking a lot about pets. Dogs, cats, birds, rats, bugs, horses, ferrets, corpses. I don't know what I was thinking with that. I wrote that like weeks ago. I even have it in my notes like, wait, what? What the fuck is that? Anyway, so what is a pet, right? So from what I can tell, they're mostly companions. They may have started out as hunting partners or even pest control, maybe even as farm equipment. But they now serve a more companion-like role. Some creatures are a lot easier to domesticate than others. Even some animals that don't really totally count as domesticated are pets as well. And sometimes they're not even animals. Sometimes they're totally non-interactable. And some are completely digital and technically speaking are interactable, but also not real, like at all. Which of course begs the question, like what's more of a pet rock or a Tamagotchi or a Pokemon or something? But I'm not here to try and answer that. I'll let that bounce around in your head for the next couple days. I'm mostly sharing some thoughts on what they mean to me, I guess, and I just kind of want to talk. So my observations about others and their pets are basically, I mean, I guess like when I meet people who have pets, they tend to be one of four types. Those whose pet is like part of the family, those whose pet is subservient to them, those whose pet is to be worshipped, and those whose pet is there for status purposes. And not everyone will cleanly fit into these made-up-on-the-spot categories, but a lot do fit somewhere in them or in between them. For example, I think somewhere between its family and its subservient is kind of where I'm at. So basically, it serves the family, but is just a step down from any member of the family. Part one, part of the family, they have an interesting dynamic. It's all in the pictures, like you can tell it's part of the family because it's in every one of the pictures that they have. It's not just the dog or anything. It's like the family with, like they take professional portraits with the pets. It may go on some trips with the family. Might have even been like the parents' free trial baby. It's certainly not free though. It is most certainly called one of the kids, and it even gets like Christmas presents. Sometimes these pets are treated better than some other humans I know. Hell, depending who owns it, better than even me. Sometimes it seems like these dynamics can be inconvenient to others and even to guests who come to the home to visit friends and loved ones, but usually it doesn't seem so bad. So it's essentially an equal, for the most part. So category 2 was subservient pets. So these usually have about 3 ways of going. The pet is highly trained in a specific skill it got over time and is used to fulfill a duty, like a show horse or a police dog or a therapy animal. Or it isn't trained in anything and is just kind of expected to not shit or piss on everything and be quiet. The second one is kind of sad. It's like it was meant to be a part of the family, but just kind of exists. Maybe one of the kids is really nice to it or something. I feel like old dogs get this treatment a lot. I also feel like a lot of cats kind of prefer it this way. So the last way that this kind of plays out is that it is part of the family enough, but does need to know its place. So no eating when we eat, no parents for you. Kind of though, huh? No presents, no special training or treatment, but also will feed you and take care of you. It's basically a partnership, if you will. A lot of rules, but also a lot of love. The third category was that it's worshipped. So this type always kind of freaked me out, or made me feel a little bad for them. I feel like this type usually has a cat, but sometimes a dog, or maybe even an exotic pet. They'll typically make accounts for the animal and take a lot of pictures of it. They definitely treat it well, but almost at the detriment to their own family or a loved one or themselves. And having guests over can weird them out or disgust them if they let the animal do whatever they want. Just because I once met someone whose cat was ridiculously aggressive. It actually put a scar on my nose. I felt bad for the cat, and so did they, but I felt even more bad for them. Always having to just warn people when they came over, because there's just this mini tiger just ready to rip someone's throat out the second they get anywhere near them. And you know, cats, man, they're sneaky little shit. So it decided I got too close to it when it showed up on my lap. That's basically how that played out. I'm not going looking for trouble with the little guy. It's harsh, but much like people, I believe an animal can also be a bit of a lost cause if they don't, get with the program. And that's just kind of where I'm at with that. I also feel like I've met some people who expect the same level of commitment to the pet, like should transmit to friends or even total strangers, like asking them not to sit in its spot and things like that. Some of these types I even hear saying that they would be inclined to save a dog, for example, over another person, which to me is crazy. And usually, the very obvious go-to example is always like, would you rather save like a Pomeranian or a corgi or something, or would you rather save like a Nazi or something crazy like that? And I'm like, what? That most people I run into are not Nazis, and I would probably save most people in comparison to saving a random Pomeranian or a corgi. So I think that people who say things like that are kind of crazy. I just think you got your priorities all kinds of mixed up if someone says something like that. Like, I totally respect the love that they have for the beautiful creatures that inhabit this world, but I better not be dying in a fire watching someone run in there and trying to save their pet spider or some shit. That's just not for me. The fourth category was status, and some people seem to not really care much about the animal in this one. They'll just kind of put cool clothes on it, or like designer brands on their dog to flex. They'll get something very exotic or expensive, and it's mostly there to prove a point. I'm rich, bish. I'm talking rare or dangerous fish, pygmy anything, a famous person's dog's kid, a purebred shit, cool patterns, twinning fashion, all kinds of reasons. So long as that reason serves the purpose of elevating your social status amongst your peers. Unfortunately, it seems to me like most in this category see the animal as fairly replaceable. Yeah. So anyway, that's just an observation, but like I said, I made all these categories on the spot. Not everyone will fit perfectly into them. It's probably more like a gradient they're all on. Some people get a pet for status, but since it's the main article of status in their life, it is worshipped. Some people have the animal for a work purpose, but grow to love it like family. I myself would pick an animal, and even though I grow to love it, I'd still consider it below any other human being I have in my life. And obviously I don't mean below in terms of like the time spent with it or something like that. I just mean, again, the fire scenario. Most people I have in my life I would probably save before I saved my own dog. That being said, I'd still be really sad if my dog died in a fire. Yeah, so fun side story. I actually once used to hang out with a friend in high school who lived on a ranch. He had this adorable little baby goat named Carmela, named by his little sister. Carmela had a lot of personality, and she was really funny. She happened to be up and running around while the barn cats were young, and so they would all play together sometimes, and the cats would like to hide in tall grass and stalk and hunt each other, and she'd watch and stuff. One time, the little sister, she left Carmela alone in the grass, and Carmela likes to be held a lot. She's kind of spoiled by the little sister, so because she would just carry her everywhere. So since Carmela fully expected to be picked back up and carried back to the house, she just kind of waited for her for about like 5 minutes. So it's like 5 minutes goes by, me and my buddy are just hanging on the porch, just watching the beautiful day, hanging out in a little farmland. And while we're sitting there, we start seeing these tails just sticking up out of the grass one by one, and getting closer and closer to Carmela. And she starts screaming, and all the kittens just jump her all at one time. They went crazy on her, bro. They all got tired of hunting each other and just started hunting Carmela. But she was a funny and sweet little goat. She wasn't technically my pet or anything, but I wish she was. She brings me a lot of joy. Which brings me actually to my experience. And I've had, let me see, about 15 and a half pets or so, give or take. And the half stands for all the pets that belong to someone else who was either staying with us or I was staying with them at the time. And so in order, my pets were Chiquitín the Chihuahua, Buddy the dwarf hamster, later named Hannibal the cannibal for eating his kids, Baby the dwarf hamster, watched Buddy transition into Hannibal using her kids to prove it, sad day, Elvis the guinea pig for the cute little swoop that he had in his hair, Reese's the guinea pig. Both of the guinea pigs were given to me by a very close friend. And Gizmo the Shih Tzu. He was a rowdy little shit, but always felt like my first real pet. The son of our future dog, Oreo. We dog sat Gizmo for like a whole year or something. Oreo the Shih Tzu, given to us after our grandmother had passed away. And Lola the rabbit, originally named Bugs, but we found out it was a girl. Jack the cat, yellow tabby that followed me home from school. My mom said it was absolutely no more pets in the house at that time, but she thought that was the cutest thing, and that it followed me home from school like that. And then my aunt made me get rid of it. Kala the cat, Siamese cat who pulled the exact same stunt Jack did, but my mom fell for it again, and my aunt still wasn't pleased, so out she went. Ziggy the poodle, I think. We don't really know what the hell he was. The dumbest dog alive that my brother and I found walking Oreo. He ran away one day, and my mom definitely didn't care. Koa the border collie lab, also kind of dumb, but our first big dog, and he also ran away one day, and my mom just was totally unfazed by that. But he was the biggest animal we ever owned, and he was a cute little guy. Chewy / Joker the Chihuahua. We hadn't settled on a name for him yet, but he was the coolest little dog. He had a bow tie shape on his chest fur, and our uncle was dealing with the loss of his dog, and then we gave him Chewy to kind of help him out with that, and they've been like the best of buds ever since. So I'm glad he got a good home, even if I wanted to keep him. Simba the cat, the yellow tabby that I honestly have no idea when he showed up in our lives, and I have no idea when he left our lives. He just kind of popped in for a year or two and then dipped, from what I can remember. I didn't spend a whole lot of time with him. Shadow the pit bull. We played a game to see who got to name her, but even though I won, I thought I'd be dumb and name her something stupid like Fight Club as a joke. And then my stepdad said no, and then just started calling her Shadow anyway. And that just became her name over time. Just because I was at work and school all the time, I just never really got to see her. So they started calling her that behind my back, because it's my stepdad, so whatever he said went. So everybody else just kind of started calling her that. And that really sucked for me. But she's a very cute dog, very pretty little pit bull. All these animals have some history with us, of course, but the one that stands out for this particular video is Oreo. So the story to close this all out, I'll finish off my video with a little tale about him. So he was my grandmother's, and I actually met him years before we owned him, and I went to visit her. Oreo and I were both the same age at 6 years old. He had a little wife dog named April, who was super cute, and my grandma passed away some years later, and we ended up taking Oreo in from her sister. Oreo was old by this point. I must have been 10 or 11, which meant so was he. I would take him on walks and a lot at this age for a few years, and he ran out of breath easily. But we would sit at a park together, and I'd run movie ideas and song ideas by him. I would sneak him some ham sometimes, and my mom wasn't looking to be a real homie. And I got into high school, and we shifted most of the responsibilities to someone else in our family to handle. After this, I really didn't spend much time with him at all. I kind of just got busy and caught up in a million other things. But every day I got home, I would see him just kind of sitting there in the corner. He used to run to the door whenever we got back home in the day, and he'd sit there with whatever other animal we had at the time. Over all those years, he eventually got too old for it and just kind of looked up at you from his bed and then would just go right back to vibing. I went through some stuff in high school, and at that time I really just didn't talk to anyone at home much at all. But there he was, always in that little corner. And I got through those times and graduated and went through college for a bit and had a band and stuff and all of it. I realized that I really did never see Oreo, how I hadn't even taken him on a walk in, almost 10 years. So I snuck him a little piece of ham while Mom wasn't home, like old times, but he wasn't moving. Thought I would try and wake him up and pat him a little, but nothing. I could see he was breathing, but I could also smell something terrible. He went all over the floor and all in his bed. seemingly without having gotten up to do so. And I called my mom and we talked, and it was clear that it was that day. And I was 22 now, which meant so was he. He probably outlived even little Gizmo, wherever the hell he was. Poor baby was breathing so heavy that I just held him in my arms, and he was super light and tired. And we talked, and I told my mom I would take care of it. And I got in touch with my friend from high school who lived on a ranch. I thought some new smells and air would be nice for his last day, so I scheduled the day 3 days out. That was the soonest we could do it. That gave us time with him and time to make plans. It would be my brother and I who would take him. The second day we had a work party actually, and someone kept egging me on to tell a funny stand-up routine or tell jokes, and I got really pressured into it. So I stood up and told an awful and dark joke that involved my dying dog and how I would be sure to ask my dad to take him on walks or something once he's in heaven. And everybody started getting really upset. And a few of them cried and went home, and I didn't really give a shit, which was classic for me at the time, but and I ended up leaving too, actually, after that. I worked in the morning of his last day and found myself crying over him in the living room before I left, and my coworker even caught me crying while I was at work. Nobody's ever seen me do something like that, but it just overtook me those few days. I was washing Oreo, and I ended up calling my friend last minute because I really couldn't see myself getting through the day without him. He came right over and caught me crying while I was washing him, and he really is one of the best friends in the world. We took him to the ranch, tried to give him some last food, and he wouldn't eat it. Just broke my heart that I couldn't give him just a tasty, terrible for his health last meal. My ranch buddy came out and helped me dig a grave for him by the other animals that were put down there. And he came out and handed me the gun. And then I covered him up and placed him gently in the hole that we made for him. And I took aim, and we said some last words, and that was that. My friend totally warned me after the shot the body would move around like crazy, and I was not ready for it. So once it was happening, my brother took the gun and shot again, and then I made absolutely sure with a third one. I'm so sorry. I had to be sure. I was like, I don't want him just to die in agony. And we couldn't see anything. Remember, it was covered, so we ended up covering the hole, and we went on our way. And I got a nice little surprise on my way out. I felt a little nudging on my leg, and when I looked behind me, there was this giant goat, and I was like, what do you want? And then my friend said, hey, do you remember Carmela? She'd grown up to be huge. I couldn't even recognize her anymore. But yeah, what a fun little tragic story. But that little bastard taught me something very important. Appreciate what you have and be grateful for the time spent, no matter how much you wish it was longer. I cried every day for a week after that. At one point in life was very apathetic towards everything and everyone, and the last thing I expected to have happen in my life was to cry over a dog, let alone Oreo, who I had compartmentalized as an old toy that I didn't play with anymore, which is harsh and terrible, of course, but after this experience, I literally can't eat meat without being so grateful for it. If I see a little dog or a cat, I'll give it a little pat, if it'll let me. I get why people love their little animals so much these days, and he may have taught me other things, but that's what I'll leave with you guys for now. To Oreo, I know you never technically understood a word I said to you, but thanks for listening anyway. Thanks for giving my mom a sense of extended time with her mom for years to come after she'd passed away, and thanks for giving my youngest siblings their first dog. And thanks for giving my brother a spar partner when he couldn't beat me. And thanks for giving my stepdad an excuse to get even more pets. And yeah, I just love you. And as for you, viewer, I love you too, very much in fact. I don't need to know you to do that. And I don't know. Just been thinking a lot about pets lately. And we'll see you next time. Love you.